Hey guys, in today's video I want to discuss power and how you can train for power. Now, out of the hundreds and hundreds of rugby league players that I've trained, look, the one thing that makes someone stand out on the field is power, okay? The ability to be able to show how fast, how strong you are in a very fast, quick, efficient manner. Now, as I say to a lot of my guys, there is a lot of big, strong guys out there. What is going to make you stand out amongst those guys? Everyone's big, everyone's strong, especially when you come into the older grades. What is that one thing that's going to make you stand out amongst everyone else? And in my opinion, it is 100% power. Being able to fend someone off and send them flying, being able to bump someone off and send them flying, being able to bust through a line, be able to put a fucking big shot on, that all is power, okay? So the more impressive your power output is, the more impressive you are going to be on the field. I think it's important that you firstly understand what power is. Power is strength and speed combined, okay? So firstly, we need to have a good base amount of strength. Strength is the base for all other attributes. So whether it be speed, power, change of direction, whatever it is, it all comes, acceleration, it all comes from strength. If you want to improve all of those attributes, you need to be strength training first. Now, hopefully, all of us are by now, okay? You guys who are just starting out in gym training, my advice to you would be just to focus on getting stronger, because that is going to improve every other attribute straight away. You guys that have been training for quite a good amount of time and are fairly strong, this is where you need to start looking at how you can express that strength in a very fast, efficient manner, okay? So that is your power training. So you absolutely need to start focusing on that. There are a few different ways you can develop your power, a few different techniques and methods. I'll run you through what I typically would do. Firstly is plyometric exercises. So a plyometric exercise is basically just your body weight. So think about a power push-up, think about a box jump, broad jump. That is anything that's just pretty much your body weight. Okay, so then you have using anywhere from 50 to 70% of your 1 rep max on any main lift. So if you're talking about a bench press and say that your 1 rep max is 100 kilos on your bench press, you would use 50 kilos, 50% of your 1 rep max, for explosively punching out your reps. Okay, so nice and fast. Then you have ballistic training, so that is something that doesn't involve any kind of eccentric component to the exercise. So think about a wall throw, a med ball wall throw, that kind of thing, where you can just focus on that concentric component without the eccentric, so you can really throw something hard and forward. Med ball slam is another example, tire flip is another example. Then you have your accommodating resistance exercises. So that is something that would use power bands or chains. Very, very good way of developing power also. Then probably my favorite method is a contrast set, which is a heavy lift going into either a ballistic movement, a plyometric movement. So if I'm using bench press as an example again, I might use anywhere from 80 to 90% of your 1 rep max for a very short amount of reps, 2 to 3 reps maybe. Have our 20 seconds rest, which is what we need to still have that transfer effect into the explosive movement. So then I might go into a med ball throw. Probably my favorite combination. You'll see a lot of that on my Instagram stories. I'm sure there's others, but French contrast methods, I don't do a lot of that, but I have played with it a lot. But definitely contrast methods is definitely my favorite. Now, one of the other biggest things is quality over quantity when it comes to developing your power, okay? You cannot develop power in the presence of fatigue. So where a lot of people go wrong is they may, for example, they might punch out 10 to 20 med ball throws at the wall. Now, of course, you're going to start getting fatigued and that movement is going to start becoming slow. Okay, so therefore we have no speed anymore, which means we're not going to be developing power, because we already discussed that power requires strength and speed, obviously, to create power. So if our movement is slow and sluggish, we're not going to be developing power, right? So the thing that we need to do is keep our reps short and sweet, and we have plenty of rest in between. So if I'm going to use a med ball throw as an example, I would probably do 6 reps max, but I would also monitor the speed of rep 5 and 6. So if I think the 5th and the 6th rep is looking slow, I will suggest that we do sets of 3 to 4, okay? So it is important that everything is done fast, everything is done super aggressive, okay? If we're trying to develop power, we've got to be fucking aggressive. We have to be. Everything has to be done. Every movement that we do to develop power has to be done with intent and aggressiveness. So if I'm talking about a med ball throw again, I'm telling my guys to put a hole in that fucking wall. Put a hole in that wall. If we're doing a med ball slam, put a hole in that floor, okay? Everything has to be done with intent and aggressiveness, and we have to have plenty of rest in between. It is not about keeping busy, okay? It's not about we've got to do this, got to do that, got to be busy all the time, got to be, get that workload in. That's fine if we're looking at fitness. That's fine if we're looking at bodybuilding. We are trying to create power here. We're trying to create an X factor. We're trying to create a skill that you don't have because you haven't trained for it properly yet. Some of us are genetically gifted and powerful, but a lot of us have to train for it. And those guys who are genetically powerful, imagine if you did fucking train for it. Okay, so quality over quantity. Shorts, 3 to 4 sets, 3 to 6 reps, and keep it fast, keep it aggressive. Rest, anywhere up to 3 minutes in between your sets. Make sure every movement you do for power is quality. Now, how do you structure your power into your training? How do you still train for everything else? Now, one of the biggest things, and we can still train for strength, we can still train for building size while we are still training for power. It is all about structuring it into our programs. So how I do it, there's a few different ways, okay? Never have sort of one set blueprint. What I have been doing lately is so if I'm to run you through an upper body training session, it'll work like this. First of all, we'll do 10-15 minutes of warming up. So we never skip our warm up ever, okay? If you're jumping straight in there and not warming up, stop fucking kidding yourself. Start being professional, start warming up, okay? Because when you get old, you are gonna regret it, trust me. So always do a warm up first. Always make sure you crack a sweat, you're feeling good, you got a little bit of a pump, and then we move on to our training. So lately, I've been starting with a plyometric exercise. So we might do, say if it's an upper body, like I said, we're doing 4 sets of 6 med ball throws at the wall. Again, explosively fast. I may cut down those reps if it's starting to look slow, having a good amount of rest in between. So we'll do 4 sets of 6 med ball throws. Then we will move on to something like a power band bench press, or just a bench press using 50% of our 1 rep max. If we're using bands, we're probably using 20 to 30% of our 1 rep max to also accommodate for the resistance of the bands. But basically, no matter what the percentage is, if that bar isn't moving fast or if it starts to slow down, I'm dropping weight off it anyway. So don't get too hung up on numbers and percentages, because if it's moving slow, the shit needs to come down anyway. You need to rest longer or you need to drop weight off. Doesn't matter. That fucking bar needs to move fast. Then that's our 2 exercises done. We've done a ballistic exercise for our power, and we've done 50% of our 1 rep max for our power. Then we can either move on to a strength exercise. So that might be bench press again, okay? Whatever method that you want to use for your strength exercise. There's a million different techniques. But then we'll move on to a strength exercise, and then we will move on to our bodybuilding stuff. So that is how I structure a session. You can also do it the other way around. You can do your main lift at the start for 50 to 70% of your 1 rep maxes. I do prefer 50%, I must say. I have tried 70%. Obviously you do it for longer sets, shorter reps, but I do find that 50% works better for explosive power. That's just me. That's the way I prefer to do things, because you can just really put everything into that. okay, and it's moving relatively fast. As soon as you start creeping up near the 70%, starts to get heavy, starts to get fatiguing. Yes, you could do 8 sets of 2, whatever it may be, as long as you're hitting that total amount of volume. But I've got an hour with an athlete, so that just soaks up too much of our time, and there's too much other stuff to do in our session. So the 4 sets of 6 works well for us at 50%. So that I find works much better, and a lot of people just don't have that time to be spending that much time in the gym hitting out that amount of sets. So I find that 50% of your 1 rep max works fine. You could hit that first, and then you could move on to a plyometric exercise or a ballistic movement, whatever it is that you want to do. Get that out of the way, and then move on to your strength, and then your bodybuilding. Or you can miss out on your strength altogether and leave that for a separate day. So that leads us into how do you structure your week, okay? How do you structure power into your weekly training? Now, this method is no secret, been around for a long time, and I give all the credit to Westside Barbell with this one. So say on a Monday, you will do an upper body max effort. So say that's your heavy bench presses, that's your assistance work, and that's your accessory work after that. Then Tuesday, you might do a lower body max effort with all the other stuff. Then come Thursday, you might do your explosive stuff. So that's when you'll just do your explosive lifts at the start, move on to your accessories and your assistance exercises, and then on Friday, you may do an explosive lower body. Okay, so that's 4 days a week of training. Each day is focusing on strength and size, and then the other days are focusing on your explosive stuff. So you're getting the best out of both worlds in that 1 week. Now, obviously, you may not have 4 days a week, so that sort of route, that setup is not going to work for you. And of course, the time of footy season is going to heavily dictate on what we choose to do and how we can program our stuff into our training. So I'm just throwing ideas out there so you guys have a little bit more of an idea of how to structure it properly into an actual session and how you can structure it into your week. Now, say you've only got 2 days a week that you can train in the gym. You can just use the way that I explained earlier that I train with my clients. Do your warm up, do an explosive exercise, whether it's a plyometric exercise, a ballistic movement, whether it's something that you do with your bench press or with your main lift at a 50% of your 1 rep max. Whatever that is, you can do that first, then move on to a strength movement, and then move on to your bodybuilding movement, and then you're done. Okay, you're out of there. So that can work very well. And whether you do that as an upper and a lower, or whether you do 2 full body sessions a week, you can structure all that in perfectly. So if you're going to do a full body, what you can do is obviously you can do your warm up, do your explosive for your upper, do your strength for your upper, do a little bit of I find when you are doing full body sessions and you are running out, you're low on time, the bodybuilding stuff we will definitely jam in there as like giant sets or supersets or drop sets, whatever it is that I can get a lot of volume in very fast. I'm gonna use those methods, and then you can move on to your lower body stuff. Do a quick do a lower body warm up, do a lower body explosive exercise, whether it's plyometric, whether it's a ballistic movement, whatever it is, and then move on to your strength movement, and then move on to some kind of bodybuilding movement. Whether you do drop sets, whether you do giant sets, supersets, that's up to you. But look, everyone's different. Everyone's got more time than others. Some have got no time at all. How you set up your training is totally up to you. But if we're talking about power, as long as that shit's getting done at the start of a session, you're going to develop power adequately. If you're doing it at the end of your session, everything's slow and sluggish and you're tired, you're not going to be producing any speed, so therefore you're not going to be producing any power.